What is going on, everybody? This is a slightly late review for episode 5 of The Last of Us, entitled Endure and Survive. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host Monday through Friday on Pop Culture Crisis. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are back on our Last of Us review grind. It came out slightly early because of the Super Bowl, so I watched it on Friday night, and here we are on Monday to review it. Wesley is not watching it this week, so maybe next week.
We should hope. It was a busy week this week. So off the bat, you told me before we started recording that you had not a whole lot to say about this one.
I'm still bored.
I actually had a lot of stuff that I really didn't like or that annoyed me in this episode, but then was later kind of remedied by the large scale action scene, which I thought was really, really well done.
It was
at the end.
This show is bullshit. This show sucks. It's just not good. Like, almost worse than it being bad is that it's not good. And it's like an indictment of our culture that it's the most popular show on HBO Max right now.
I'll go through a couple of the things. There's a couple of things that I didn't hate off the bat. So I'll talk about those first. One is that Joel is kind of the model of consistency for the show. Whether, like you said, there's a lot you dislike about the show. It feels like it would be 100 times worse if his stoicism wasn't like the one thing that carried me through from scene to scene. So I don't mind Pedro Pascal in this role. Also, what was the other? The night photography, the cinematography, because so much of the show takes place at night. Is actually really, really good. One thing that really bothers me, it's usually something you see more in like driving scenes. You ever watched a scene in a movie where like two characters are driving at night and there's just like a light from nowhere on someone in the car? Like there's no reason for them to be lit like that.
Yeah.
This show does really, really well to do believable cinematography for the night scenes. And obviously it helps a lot for scenes like the action scene because it helps mask the fact that so much of like what you're seeing with the bloater is CGI.
In the night scenes, I just noticed that it seemed like much brighter at night than you would expect. But then I said like, oh, that makes sense because it's post-apocalyptic and you don't have light pollution anymore. So I thought that made sense.
Okay, so we'll start getting into what we don't like. I'm buying none of what Kathleen is selling. I'm buying none of what Kathleen is selling.
She talks like an elementary school principal or school marm or HR manager, someone in middle management, some very vindictive, childless cat lady in middle management, like not a warlord.
Yeah, there's very much. You haven't gotten this far in Harry Potter yet, but there's Professor Umbridge vibes about her that people will understand if they listen to what I'm saying. Also,
who is her right-hand man? What's his name?
Perry.
What is the hold she has on Perry and why?
It's a huge waste of Jeff Pierce as an actor, who's a fantastic actor. And it would have made more sense. Look, she gives this whole speech, and one of my biggest complaints is that both her and Henry give these emotionally taxing speeches that I just didn't care about because we haven't spent enough time with them. Like, they're given in a way where if this was 8 episodes into a show where they were the main characters, I might have bought what they were saying. But since both of them have just appeared in the last 2 episodes, why would I have any type of emotional connection to what you're saying? And it is, oddly enough, her right-hand man died a more noble death than she did at the end.
I mean, he gave up his life for her because he was a simp. I don't think that's a noble death. I think that's pathetic.
He at least,
especially because she treated him like shit.
But if he believed in the principles of what she was fighting for, whether we agree with it or not,
what was that?
Like I said, whether we agree with the resistance or fighting Fedra, like it's like also that's the other big thing. The word fascist has been ruined in such a way where like when it finally is applicable, like I guess what we're seeing here. Like
a military dictatorship.
Yeah, the word used to actually matter, but now when you see it in a TV show like this where it actually should be used, it means nothing anymore. And also, I felt the same way about Henry and Sam. So like the gist here is that at the beginning of the episode, Sam and Henry kind of sneak up on Joel, which is again annoying because Joel once again kind of doesn't do his job well. So they get snuck up on by Henry and Joel, and they spend the episode bonding. And by the end of the episode, you're supposed to care more about Henry and Sam. But again, even though they spent a lot of time with them this episode, it's still not enough time for me to care about how emotional that death was supposed to be at the end. At least in my opinion, which is that Sam got bit in the last battle, or got scratched or whatever in the last battle, and turns by morning.
Yeah, okay.
And has to be killed by his own father.
It's not his father, it's his brother.
Oh, it is his brother.
Yeah, and then his brother shoots himself. Okay, so firstly, Wesley last review was saying, we needed to see Joel and Ellie go through something traumatic together so that their moments of like softness and warmth toward each other can be believable. Mm-hmm. So they did it in reverse, but we did get that in this episode. Mm-hmm. Through like meeting Henry and Sam and then seeing them at their end. But Ellie just comes off as like kind of a psychopath. Like the fact that she didn't tell Henry that Sam was about to die and just decided to keep it a secret between the two of them. I don't believe for a second that she thought her blood being rubbed on Sam's wound was going to save him. I think she was doing that to make Sam feel better for the moment. But yeah, she just came off as a terrible person for not revealing that to Henry immediately. So he could at least say goodbye and at least like have this happen on his own terms and think about it first, which essentially puts Henry's blood on her hands.
Yeah, in a way.
For, being so in shock and like traumatized that he killed himself. Yeah. And then at the end when she writes, "I'm sorry" over his grave, I don't believe it. She never like tells Joel the truth of what happened.
Yeah. It was, I didn't even think of it like that. I mean, I just thought of it as like, I saw the "I'm sorry" coming from a mile away on the tablet, on the thing she was writing on. Here's one of the other... Is
she not like basically remorseless for what she did? Like, you're supposed to tell the person's family member, like, you don't know this kid.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're supposed to believe that after a day of hanging out with this child, palling around with this child, as if you're his big sister, you're closer to him than the brother who's been protecting him for all of these years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't even think of it that way.
It was just gross.
Here's a couple of other things. Here I'll get into a little bit of the stuff that bothers me. Making Henry a pacifist is stupid. It's not believable. And it screams of woke ideology to not allow him to be violent in any way and have to rely on Joel to be violent anyway. Also, there was the speech. Remember a while ago I mentioned everyone has like a bullshit meter where they can tell when something like this is Hollywood written. And now, regardless of source material, the speech that Kathleen gives Perry about how her brother was the pure one and would want them to be forget would have actually carried weight if it was a guy giving that speech and it was a woman that was pure and told him to embrace forgiveness. Because theoretically the male warlord, would have actually done the violence rather than being so aggrieved with anger that you get other men to do the violence for you. I feel like if they had swapped those roles and it had been a guy giving that speech, I might have actually bought it and it might have actually felt realistic. It didn't feel realistic to me. Also, no woman who relies on any amount of, would you call it emotional manipulation that she uses to control these people? She doesn't speak in such a rousing manner that she inspires confidence or these types of speeches.
The tone that she was using to speak to the Fedra snitches was just awful.
It's
I also at the end of the episode wondered after the rebels are all killed by this groundswell of cordyceps, what the Fedra snitches were gonna do as they were like locked away to starve to death.
Yeah.
In underground.
The other part of her speech that bothered me is that a female leader who relies so much on emotion, I don't feel like would have been that actually emotionally vulnerable to a confidant, even in number 2. Because it was presented in a way that was transparently real to who she was. It didn't feel like a way to get what you want. It felt like she was actually trying to open up to this guy. And it just doesn't feel like that would have been something that a warlord.
I just thought a male warlord wouldn't do that.
He would just kill people. And that's what he would do. I will say that I enjoyed the hypocrisy of her speech that she gives to Henry during the last battle. I thought that was classic bad guy. When she's talking about her brother and she's talking to Henry and she's talking about how him, did you ever think that maybe he was just supposed to die? And it's very clearly hypocritical that she's, burning the world down in honor of her brother when he very clearly gave up a whole lot in honor of his own brother. The hypocrisy was right in that one. And that felt like good writing to me, albeit it might have been by accident.
Sure.
Like, it was very clearly hypocritical, and I enjoyed that. I just don't know if I buy that they were doing so in a way that was actually on purpose.
I just, I liked seeing Kathleen get...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also,
snatched up and killed. I liked that the cordyceps that caught her just started, like, beating her up before it ate her.
Yeah.
It was, like, just, like, wailing on her face with its fists.
The other thing here is... Okay, so here's a contrast between Kathleen and Joel. Women get validated, men get vindicated. So Kathleen, Perry's like, we're with you, blah. They always have to validate them. All of what they say, they have to validate them. You're so great. You're so this. You're so that. Joel constantly gets shit on for telling people to shut the fuck up. And then, as they're walking through the city, and they're like mocking him for being cautious, right? And then, of course, there is the old guy in the house who starts shooting at them, proving that they should have shut the fuck up and not been so loud. Like, so he's vindicated, but he's not validated. He's telling them, be quiet, stop talking. You're putting us at risk. They did the same thing down in the tunnels.
Yeah.
And he's proven right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if it's the writing, but it always feels like in Hollywood, the women have to be validated when people think they're right or when they're right. The men don't need that validation, but they do get vindicated, whether that's on purpose or by accident.
Probably true to real life.
I don't know if that's, I don't know if they thought that far ahead or if that's what they were thinking about, but yeah. Yeah, it was the bothersome parts for me were the speeches from Sam and from Ellie, from Kathleen, because I just didn't buy them because we hadn't spent enough time with them. I did enjoy the final battle, but that was
still think just it's not enough mushroom people. Like,
yeah,
this was 2 full episodes of, like, after no cordyceps whatsoever. Like, the last time you saw them was episode 2.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, this is ass. Like, this sucks. And then I go back and rewatch Walking Dead episodes, and it perfectly, like, you can say, oh, you can't show all that gore and developed a story. That's completely untrue. They're just being stingy with the CGI or something like that.
A lot of the budget clearly got sunk into this episode at the end for like 20 minutes.
This show is just ass, and it says so much about, like, our society that it's this popular. It just isn't. It is not good. It's not bad. It's just not good.
I take a little bit brighter of a position than you, but not much. Also, a huge waste of John Getz as an actor. He played Edelstein, the one who hid Henry and Sam early in the episode. He's a great actor. We didn't really get to see a lot of him. And I enjoyed the part where Joel had to shoot the old man Marley looking dude, and he just begs the guy, he's like, please don't do it. Like, I don't want to have to shoot you. And I thought that spoke to his character in a way that seemed right or emotionally right for what they were trying to portray him as. And then him having to do it at the end was a bummer. But I thought his acting in that scene was good. And
I don't know. I thought it was kind of stupid.
That guy looks like old man Marley to me. So, all right. Final thoughts?
I have no thoughts. This show sucks.
Guys, I do not know if I would say that it sucks, but it's definitely like, I guess, mediocre to above average mediocre. Do with that what you will. Let us know what you think in the comments section. We'll be back with another episode review next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.